Greetings YouTube, it is Luke Pedler from Adelaide Performance Engineers here again, and just been mucking around with the twin turbo 109 and doing some launch control launches and some logging. I'll put a video up of the last launch I did, and I just want to go through the logging software here and show you some interesting stuff. So let me just turn this. There we go. So what we have here is the WinPep 8 section of the power core software from Dynojet, and what we are looking at is manifold pressure, so boost, road speed, so this is how we're actually going to calculate our acceleration and look at what's going on, and our air fuel ratio. So there is a little discrepancy here. So what we're seeing in the air fuel ratio at this point is this is with the clutch in first gear on the launch control on the anti-lag. So this is basically where I let the clutch out, and this is where the bike starts moving. So there is a little bit of discrepancy between those two. Let's see, so 5.2 seconds versus 5.6, 5.7 seconds. So almost half a second in between the two. So that is, I would say that's me too slow getting off the clutch because I'm scared of it, I guess. But so that's my practice. So there's a couple of tenths to be saved there. However, the interesting part is, and we'll start it from 1.7 kilometers an hour, which is 1 mile an hour, which is industry standard for a 0 to 60 time, because you always have a slight amount of rollout. Google what rollout is if you're not familiar with it, but the timer never starts from absolute zero. It starts from, you get a run up of a foot or so, I believe it is, in any case. So 5.68 seconds is our start point, and we're looking for 95 kilometers an hour, which is equal to 60 miles an hour. It should be, I'm guessing, about here. 93. We'll get as close as we can. It's probably going to be as close as, yeah, somewhere around there. Good enough. And that is 8.6 from 8.66, whatever it is, as opposed to 5.67. So as near as you're going to get to 3 seconds flat for a 0 to 100 pull, 0 to 60 mile an hour, 0 to 95 kilometers an hour, which is absolutely awesome for a street bike and a repeatable launch. But like I said, there's time to be saved in here. I'm coming for the Rocket 3's record of 2.7 seconds, which is what I want. But in terms of tuning, what we want to look at is our air fuel ratio here. So as we start moving, we're at 12.5 to 1 air fuel ratio and 3.9 pounds of boost, and it pretty quickly gets down to our target of 11. Our target's actually 11.8, but 11.6 being just slightly richer than that is absolutely ideal, and it absolutely nails that through all of first gear. We have a gear shift here, which you can see by the little spike in air fuel ratio and a little dip in manifold pressure, which is me just slightly rolling off the throttle and hitting the quick shifter. So I'll bring up the throttle percentage and you should be able to see that. TPS. Yep. So we're at 100%, or 99 point whatever, and it drops just here on the 1-2 shift to 85%. Is that 85? Full focus. 85%, and then back up to 100. So that's a little bit more rider error. I should have kept it pinned through there, but I'm just a little bit shy on the 1-2 shift on the quick shifter. But I'm sure I'll get more experience with it and get more used to it. So there you have it. 3.00 to 60 time on the street, street tires, repeatable every time. So this is the Woolwich racing software, which is what we use to flash factory ECUs on the 109 and many other bikes. So this is where the controls for the launch control are located. So the relevant stuff here is launch RPM, so that's what it holds it at, obviously. The hold time is basically how long it holds that RPM after it sees the clutch switch is out. Now, I've currently got it set to the maximum, which is 195 milliseconds. Now the ramp time, the max RPM is obviously the max engine speed that it will allow the engine to reach whilst in launch mode, and the ramp time, 1500 milliseconds, 1.5 seconds, is the time between this RPM and this RPM. So you'd be looking at, call it 200 milliseconds on top of 1500 milliseconds, gives you 1.7 seconds on top of the time it gets the clutch out, which is probably half a second. So 1.7 to add half a second is 2.2 seconds. So 2.2 seconds to get to 6,000 RPM. What I'll do is I'll go through the logs and see if that's reflected in the 0 to 6,000 RPM, from the 3,500 to 6,000 RPM points, and if it is that number, then I know that the ECU is actually holding the bike back from accelerating faster. So if it is at that number, I might take, a few milliseconds off here and just see what it does. But it was actually, looking at the video, it was just carrying the front wheel for all of first gear on that launch. So this it may be close to the limit of what I can let it ramp at before it starts pulling excessive power wheelies, but we'll just have to try it and see. So I'll probably end up pulling a couple of 100 milliseconds out of here, or possibly here, because it seemed a little bit sluggish as the clutch came out, but that could have just been my clutch hand as well. So anyway, that's how we adjust the launch control parameters, and I'm going to keep mucking around with it and hopefully get it in the 2.7 to 2.8 seconds eventually.